What will Sheila do after Mike chooses her good friend Trina over her?
In Tyler Perry's Why Did I Get Married, the play from 2006, Sheila is left to grapple with how to deal with the ultimate betrayal.
Will Sheila find love again?
Will Mike get what he deserves in the end? Let's find out in part 2 of our full breakdown of the Why Did I Get Married, the play.
I'm Heit.
And I'm Cheri.
And you've discovered Axiom Amnesia.
We want to thank all of the supporters who helped to make this video possible. If you want your name to appear alongside these contributors, make a one-time donation of $5 or more via our website at axiom.app, Cash App, or you can head on over to patreon.com/axiomamnesia to enjoy all of the benefits of becoming a monthly subscriber. So obviously there will be spoilers because this is a full breakdown of the play. Now, this is also a great time to become a member on Patreon or YouTube because our members will have access to our watch party of this commentary along with the full length of the film. So, you watch a scene and then we talk about the scene and it'll be like we're watching it together.
Exactly, we are, because I haven't watched this in about 20 years.
I have never seen this.
We're actually going to watch it right now.
Yes.
What's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. And so if you have never seen the play, this is going to be a great way to enjoy the commentary and the play all together. All you have to do is become preferably a Patreon member, or you can become a member here on YouTube, and you will find a link in the feed that will link you to this full version of what we would call a watch party, where you're watching the movie with us and you're able to see everything. And in case you missed it, we already have done part 1 leading up, but let's do a quick recap in case you did miss it. So basically we have Sheila, her husband Mike, and his mistress Trina, who's also Sheila's good friend. Then we also have Diana, Terry, and Poppy as the characters in this play. And so up to this point, basically, there's been a marriage retreat, and it's revealed on the retreat that Mike has hooked up with Trina even while they were on the retreat, and that he's planning to divorce his wife, Sheila, and he has walked out on her. And the last we saw, she was like shooting a gun after both Mike and Trina as they ran away. So everything has exploded. That's where we are.
But where's Troy in all of this?
Oh, yes, Troy. I forgot about Troy. Troy is another...
He's a friend of these couples.
Troy is a friend of the couples who is also there at this retreat. And, he's there as a single man. And so those are the characters that we have there. That's where we left off at the end of the last video that we did. And so now we see that it is 1 year later. So the shooting, all that stuff that went on, now it's a year later after that. And I guess they're at the marriage retreat again. Remember, this is my first time actually seeing the play. So
this is basically my first time because I have no idea what happened.
Yes. So let us begin. So it's a year later and Mike and Sheila are obviously not together. And we find out through Diana, who was the attorney for their divorce, that Sheila told Diana to just go ahead and let Mike have everything.
I had him. Sheila was going to take it all, and then she just walked away.
And then next thing we know, Mike shows up with Trina.
Hey, what's up, y'all?
Wait.
And guess what? Boom, they are married now.
Well, Diana, Mike and I are married now.
And they just had the nerve to show up at the retreat. And Trina is like, well, my husband is still part owner of this timeshare.
My husband is still part owner in this timeshare. So we figured we'd come up here to the retreat.
So at first, in the first half, I was thinking that Poppy and his wife, who are Terry's parents, had owned this place, but apparently it's a timeshare.
I still don't understand the timeshare thing.
Yeah.
Because you only get one slot?
Well, in timeshares, you you say when you want to reserve the place, but maybe they've shared their portion of
That's
the
what I'm
timeshare, if that
saying.
makes
Like,
any sense.
why are they-
So they all have to come at the same time. And it sort of reminds you of that second movie, where Mike crashes the retreat because he's like, well, I still paid my money, or I still own part of it, whatever it is.
Yeah, he say he has part of the timeshare.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Why is it there these extremes of she gave him everything, but she could have got everything?
yeah.
Like,
Yeah. She
what?
could have
So-
taken him to the,
Okay, so
but-
taking everything is for what? For spite?
I guess. So she let him, like, once she got, because Diana says she had a hard time with the divorce.
So how's Sheila doing with that divorce?
Oh, Papa, she took it so hard.
So once she got over him, that was it. But then Trina is giving her commentary. You would think Trina would come in and shut up, but that ain't never been the type of woman she's been so far. So Trina comes in and she's like, Sheila was weak. And that's what weak women do.
Sheila was weak. That's what weak women do.
Regarding letting Mike have everything, right? And then Diana steps in and Diana's like, nah, that's what whores do,
And what do whores do?
And so again, Trina is still pushing back like the best woman want. And so I think what we see here, which is a dynamic that we feel, I guess, a little bit, even in the comments of other videos, you have this dynamic of women who don't have certain boundaries and who feel every man is fair game, whether he's married or not, and that it is the man's responsibility to be faithful and that she has done nothing wrong by stepping in on somebody's marriage. And then you have women who have more of the mentality of being wives and respecting marriages, who who see that as a very offensive thing. And not only is the man who's married and stepping out offensive, so is the woman. And so we see these two different types of women kind of butting heads here. And I think that's a real thing, right? Because we see it with people's comments and about all of these different Tyler Perry and love romance stories that we talk about on this channel. And it just is interesting to me.
Yeah. Want us to cover your favorite movie ASAP? A one-time contribution of just $50 or more to Axiom Amnesia gets you a deep dive on demand, a 30-minute discussion on any film you choose.
It's easy. Step 1, send $50 via our website, axiom.app, where you can pay via card, Apple Pay, or you can pay directly via Cash App at $Axiom Amnesia. See the links below. Step 2, tell us your movie, email, the name you want to appear on screen, and what kind of deep dive you want. General, a specific character, a particular aspect of the film, etc. Step 3, watch your deep dive on demand with your name listed as executive producer.
Lock in your deep dive on demand today and hurry. Spots are limited.
This offer is not valid for filmmakers or distributors. Subject to availability and terms apply.
So we see that Trina is flirting with Terry,
Yes.
right?
Look at you. You've been working out, lifting a little something.
But is it done innocently, right? Because we know her history and we as viewers don't like Trina now.
Right.
Right. So let's just say this is always going to be my example because it's the only pop culture one I really know. If Alicia Keys was just like, ooh, Heit, you've been working out and stuff. Mm-hmm. Do you just assume that, how people just have friendly banter and stuff in a sort of way? Can she be redeemed? You know what I'm saying? In the sense that, okay, she did whatever, but she can have some innocent flirtation.
I'm gonna be telling
going
her
on.
to just step on back, sis.
What if it's not someone
off my man,
who has a
sis.
history like that? too?
If it's not somebody who has a history like that, they're like, oh, you've been working out. First of all,
No, the way that she did it.
the way she did it, is flirtatious. I don't care who it is. I don't care if you have the history or not. If I know your history, if you coming up on, my husband and you are rubbing on him and complimenting his physique, that is flirtatious and it's inappropriate to do to someone who is clearly married or taken in any other way, right? And it's also inappropriate because now Trina is married and Trina is married and she's doing it in front of her husband and Terry's wife. You're just out of bounds. But see, some people don't know how to behave or conduct themselves according to what the social norms of the most of the people in the group. So she's always going to be the odd man out because she does these types of flagrant violations. So I don't care if I know you or if I don't. If you come up, that's raising my eyebrow. If you up on my husband like this, I don't like that. We don't like that. No. So, and I mean, and if the reverse is true, if a man starts complimenting, ooh, you looking good, just the same way that Mike was doing to Sheila, I mean, not to Sheila, that Mike was doing to Diana in the first part he's like, oh, how are you? And she's like, fine. And he like, and he's like being nasty and flirtatious, just inappropriate, And so I do think that this highlights, I mean, it's, how it is. This is Tyler Perry. So it's going to be like ridiculous level, flagrant and whatever. I think in real life, you're probably more likely to just see a lot of skinning and grinning and batting of eyelashes and the subtle flirting that these types of women will do as opposed to this flagrant stuff.
Yeah. So then what you see is basically Mike is just sitting back when this happens too. And it's kind of like he doesn't even exist in the scene. Mm-hmm. And then Terry's just like, come on, Mike, let's go, basically.
Yeah.
And it's like, wait, what?
Mike, let's go upstairs and find something to talk about.
Try to run interference. Mm-hmm.
What about Terry's reaction?
Because Terry is not entertaining Trina.
He was.
Well, so what I'm saying is so here's the thing.
But he was like, oh, really? So it wasn't like he was just
the
like.
compliment, right?
Yeah.
So everybody has an ego. Everybody has the ability to be flattered if someone else compliments them, right?
Yeah, but the question is, should he be able to recognize what's happening in that moment?
And I think he did. Like, I think, how it's like something happens and your first response is to be excited. Hey, somebody noticed I've been working out, whatever it is, right? Somebody complimented me. And then he quickly righted himself like, oh, hell, no,
After his wife said something.
Well, yeah, okay.
So.
I think that's an important thing. So let's talk about it then. What is the male appropriate reaction if he is trying to be mindful? What should he have done in that moment? She says, oh, Terry, you look like you've been working out. And she's touching on him or whatever. What should he have done then?
Should he have done?
Well, if he was trying to, you said that it wasn't until his wife said something. So what should he have done? Should he just totally, yanked away from her and ignored her?
Well, that's what I'm doing as soon as you touch me. So don't put your hands on
right.
me.
But, again, to me, I just think that it's, so it can be
maybe
awkward.
You squiggle away, kind of like what we usually see subtly in film and stuff. But it's a play. In film and stuff, is that the I guess
person
it's
who
smoother.
has the unwanted advances.
You just slowly, like we usually see a man doing it to a woman. Right, go and massage the shoulders, and she got to kind of squirm out of it. Right, it's kind of how we see it. And I think that's kind of what happens.
Yeah,
too,
and he's
reality.
just in reality.
What was her name? The Ariana Grande, was it at a funeral or
I don't know, it was something up on stage,
with the pastor or whoever, right?
Touching her, like
side boob.
Massaging her shoulders, grazing the side boob, just weirdness.
No, he was holding the side boob and she kind of had to. Yeah.
But and I think that the difference also is not that men don't feel uncomfortable when there are unwanted advances from women, but I think that we always know men are physically able in most 99.9% of the cases to fend off the woman if necessary, right? So it's just a matter of decorum as far as how how they extract themselves from this situation versus a woman who, if she says no outright to the man could always say yes. You understand what I'm saying? Like in most cases, he could overpower her. He could, and so that is a dynamic that I think that if we wanted to look at the reverse, we would have to consider that the reason that women may either not respond to these unwanted advances, like in other words, they're not giving the affirmative, but they're not saying no because they are trying to calculate the best way to get out of it.
Now, like the girl who was at the tattoo guy's house in New Orleans.
Yeah, where she says that, he, was being inappropriate, but she was in there alone. Now, this situation, they were not alone, so whatever happens can happen. But, you do feel uncomfortable when people do things that are inappropriate, you know, and I think about actually one time when we were out, and man, this is the second time I'm bringing up R. Kelly. But yes, because we brought up that R. Kelly I'm a Flirt song because of some of the lyrics that it had in there and how it paralleled to what was going on with Menace to Society and Eileen's cousin, right? And talking about, you know, he was going to pretend to be her cousin when her man went to the bathroom, right? And you know, I think that is very true, that men who are, you know, want to talk to you and are flagrant in a place, they'll wait for the guy you're with to go to the bathroom. And that did happen, you know, while we were out. And then you return from the bathroom and this person is like legit in my face. And it was very uncomfortable. And in that moment, I felt like, dang, you know, because people have been drinking and stuff. So you never really know how they're going. But I knew you were coming back soon. And I already knew that, you know, I was like, oh, he'll be back in a second in my mind. So you don't really have to do anything that's going to cause a problem. And how you handled it, I felt like was very smooth. You know, you just, because this guy is like legit in my face and you just slid in between the two of us. Because he came and tried to take your seat, you know, and you slid right in between the two of us. And then, you know, and it was so funny. And it's funny because we were sitting with a family member. I was sitting with a family member who saw it and she started laughing after that because she was like, I never said anything like that. And then he came and, you know, and it was just as smooth as all. There was no conflict, you know what I'm saying? Nothing had to happen because, you know, some people will be like trying to blow everything up. We just wanted to have a good time, but that was an uncomfortable situation. But your style is one where, you know, you don't have to come with a bunch of blustery. You just slid right in there and it wasn't nothing dude could do. And that was it. And he went on, I don't know what happened to him. He went on about his business. But, you know, dudes would do that. They are bold and it can make women uncomfortable. Now, I'm also not one of these women who's like, oh my God, every guy who look at me is trying to, you know, that ain't me either though. But in this case, it was obvious. And, you know, it was uncomfortable because, you know, when he came, he like touched my hair. And I thought that was just very inappropriate. But what do, you know, as a woman? Because I know if I start bucking up and getting loud and crazy, who knows? Because these days you can't rely on the men who might be available that they're going to jump in and defend you in some way. So it'd just be a street fight and people would be videotaping. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So anyway, so to me, I think that's an important thing to say because, you know, people always want to flip it and be like, well, if it was a woman, but we always have to consider, you know, the woman understanding that she probably can't overpower the man. So then once Mike leaves and Terry leaves, they go, and so does Poppy. These two women are left alone, Trina and Diana. And Trina is all, you know, Trina says, you know, let's bury the hatchet.
Why don't we just go ahead and bury the hatchet, huh?
As long as I can bury it in your skull.
You know, we're a lot alike. We're both feisty and whatever. And Diana is like, I am nothing like you.
No, I'm feisty and you're feisty. We both know what we want out of life and we go and get it.
If you ever want to insult a woman, be very different than her in some way and then suggest that you're like...
You remind me a lot of myself.
Like, yeah. And Diana's like, I have morals and values, and this little girl's like you who make it bad for real women, right?
Look, don't you dare compare yourself to me. I have morals and values, and I respect my friends and family.
So again, Diana's not going to acquiesce. She ain't giving Trina no second chances. But my question is, so y'all are literally going to just let Trina and Mike sit up in y'all's face this whole weekend? Same question we had about the second movie.
Yeah.
These are people who have done a
I'm not gonna
flagrant
let
foul.
them ruin whatever.
Yeah. You know, so then Trina says, oh, but you try to act like you so sanctified and everything like that. But if I recall correctly, you stepped out on Terry in high school, but you want people to believe.
Want everybody to think you sanctified. But I remember somebody stepping out on Terry.
So in other words, she's pointing out, maybe this is true, maybe it's not, we don't really know, but she's pointing out the hypocrisy of these folks who are, you know, saved and everything like that a lot of times they will look down on the quote unquote sinners and act like they never had, you know, anything in their own background.
But certain things from high school you probably shouldn't bring up. Like, come on, that's high school stuff. You know what I'm saying? Depending on what it is.
You weren't married in
like
high school.
You weren't married, but you're still just a little kid in high school. So, kind of isn't that what happened in Soul Food Were they supposed to be high school?
I think they were in high school.
Yeah, but people always bring that up like, she
stole her man.
She stole her man when she was 15.
Yeah.
And just think about your kids at 15 and whether or not.
A hot mess. Is anybody capable at that age of really making good and
that's
sound
when you're
decisions?
figuring out what you should be doing and how you should be interacting with people and how relationships should be.
So that, so we have this dynamic and everything that's going on, but I do think that it's important not to just be looking at Diana because she's on her high horse as like the good character, because everybody has flaws. But one thing Diana does point out is she's basically like, I know how to seek forgiveness. Essentially, I whatever my issues are, I try to correct them, and I seek I seek forgiveness. I know how to repent, basically.
But I also know how to pray and repent. See, that's the difference between me and you.
Which clearly Trina is unrepentant. She's like, I'm the best woman won. I took this woman's husband, and he's my husband now, and all of that. Back to what you were talking about with Alicia Keys earlier. Because right now, one of the things that I keep seeing, but I don't know if it's real or not, but, they're saying that Swizz Beatz and Alicia Keys' marriage is on the rocks because he has had a positive paternity test. And
because
had
one person made
baby.
a post on some social
some
media
supposed
site.
insider, but they're also saying like, there's no baby. They're putting their PR out. There's no baby. We're happier than ever. But the accusation is very specific. That doesn't mean that it's true. But, I think a lot of people never really liked that union because the perception, whether I don't know what's true or not, but
it's
the
not
perception.
Very specific.
Well,
Why
to
don't
say that
if they put the person's name out and stuff, that's specific. If you say which court, you can say the name of the court. You can post the files, the docket of the day.
But to say that somebody, was behauled to court and had to take a paternity test and took it and
Tyler Perry writes stuff like that all the time.
Yeah, well, this is true. But to me, I felt that was specific. But, we don't know if it's true or not. But the whole reason that people feel like maybe if this is true, then Alicia Keys is getting what she deserves. And they're saying stuff like, you lose them how you get them, is because the perception is that Alicia Keys interrupted the marriage between Mashonda, Swizz Beatz' wife, who he had before he was married to Alicia Keys, right? Because she was there and, making music, possibly, So the accusation is that she was sleeping with this married man.
Making music? Wait, what?
Yeah,
Who
or
was
something.
music?
Alicia Keys and, like
and
they
Swizz
basically
Beatz?
they were somehow doing things that were supposed to be above board, like, she was around.
So what year was this? 2008?
I don't know all the details. All I know is that this is what people are saying, and this is why.
He did have one song on that 2010 album. I think it was 2010.
Yeah. So.
But yeah, that would be the
what they're
worst.
saying.
That's the biggest transgression to me. If them making music together.
Oh man.
Like, just don't do it.
Totally ruined her career. Like, where is Cheri Brothers when you need them? Like the one that you were with that made all the hits that we know that we love. Like that's who you need to be back with. But listen, from where we have never seen him publicly be like, you can't work with him. But to me, it seemed that is definitely something that ruined her career.
I'll tell you what I do know. So they did have a song from like 2014-ish, right? That
Cheri Brothers
together.
and Alicia
Cheri
Keys.
Brothers, Alicia Keys. Yeah, but it was never released.
Yeah.
He played it online.
So that's like your husband saying you can't work with this guy who was basically your ex, right? Anymore. And so I don't know.
We're kind of off track, but
we are off track. But anyway, okay. So the point being, this is why people are feeling like Alicia Keys is getting what she deserves if he had this outside baby and he cheated, because they like you lose him how you get him. So back to this situation. Then we get to see what the men are talking about when they are alone. So now Mike and Terry are together. So upstairs,
Mike just breaks it out. She can't cook, man.
Yeah.
No, it's all right. It's all right. She can't cook.
Trina
and
can't
she spent
cook.
too much money.
She not Sheila. She spent too much money, and talks about how she ran up the American Express.
It got so bad the company had to call me because they thought somebody had stolen the car.
And so Terry is like, oh, it sounds like you miss her. But of course, Mike is like, nah. And
Sounds like you miss her.
Nah, I don't miss her. I don't miss that woman, man.
he does start asking about Sheila.
Have you heard from Sheila lately?
Nah.
And he's like, nobody's seen Sheila for a few months. And when he calls, she just hand the phone to the kids. And Mike is, and Terry is like, but I thought that's what you wanted, right? You wanted her to be gone and whatever. And, and you asking all these questions about her, like maybe you made a mistake. And then Mike is like, I love Trina, but she's not Sheila.
Look, I love Trina. I love Trina. Look, she's not Sheila, all right? But she's fine and everything.
How things change, right? Now, I haven't heard them bring up the 80-20 situation like they did in Why Did I Get Married, the movie, the first one. But, we're seeing that kind of play out, right? He's realizing all that he lost or is missing because Sheila is no longer his wife and what he traded it for. And he clearly is regretful. But instead of admitting that, he's like, fantasizing about how sad her life hopefully is, right? He like, Sheila's probably like 500 pounds and he laughs about
she probably somewhere right now about 500 pounds, just toting all that weight around, just carrying it.
Right? She wallowing in her, pity and all of that. And so then Terry is like, look, he calls him on the carpet. How many men do you know that could say they broke a woman down so far that she almost fell off the face of the earth?
How many men you know that could say they broke a woman so far down she almost fell off the face of the earth?
And what kind of man finds the happiness in making a woman lose hers?
I think it's jacked up that you would do something like this, Mike.
And he's like, basically like, look, I don't want to know somebody like that. Like, I don't know people like that.
I don't know any. And I don't think I want to, Mike.
And then he starts talking about the kids. And Mike is like, I don't send her no money because she don't ask.
What about them? What about them? She don't ask for nothing, so I don't send nothing.
And he doesn't have time for his kids because Trina's spending up all his money and his business is down 53%, blah, blah, blah. Because remember, he runs this construction company, in this play or whatever. It's a successful Black-owned construction company.
I have to work twice as many hours every week just to try and break even, man. I don't have the time I used to have.
And then we get the big monologue from Terry. I'm tired of seeing our Black women be the mother and the father to the kids because we won't take time. And the audience is clapping.
I'm tired of seeing our Black women be the mother and the father to our kids because we won't take time.
Everything about this conversation was just off, right? So except the part where Terry actually confronted Mike, wasn't done in the movie, right? They was just like, yeah, Mike here, and just kind of avoided it for the most part.
Yeah.
But like, it's the issue about him being a father to his kids, right? You just had the one line of he don't say nothing because of whatever, right? But
and he says he doesn't see them. Though.
Yeah, he's talking about how he needs to be in their lives and stuff like that, right? And then try to bring it out, zoom out, right, to the broader of Black society and culture, as if it's about But the thing too is that the breakup was so bad. Like this is something that you can't really fix in that same way, right? If somebody treated, we gonna all say cut your mama off, but why can't you cut your baby daddy off because of it's been like this? There's nothing he can do at that point if it's come to that point.
Yeah, if he done walked out on you or your husband,
beat you up,
left you with the kids, what is there to say? So when he calls, okay, here are the kids.
Or
she's not keeping him from his kids.
You can't come around somebody who you've done like that too, even if that's your kids. It's hard.
I'm pushing back on the friend group who would be like, we can't, we all closing ranks. Like, we don't want this type of malignancy in our, in our midst.
This conversation should happen before it's at this point.
That's true.
So like, this is kind of late for this. And you trying to, this dude, Mike, is the one you want to lecture about being in the lives of our kids and, letting Black women be the mother and father. You need to probably go talk to some younger cats who in a position to where they don't end up like this.
Well, and the other thing is about who you choose to be around. Okay, I don't care what your history is. This person has shown to be very treacherous. And both of them, right, Trina and Mike, and then you want to still have them up in your midst. What is Mike gonna go after? Now not that she would be open, but is he gonna go after Diana next? But people like this are dangerous to continue to have in your midst when they've already shown you the types of things that they can do. Now, does that mean I gotta cut you off like da da da?
Yeah.
No, but I think that while we're big and busy on what a person has done to us or what they're not doing for us and how we should cut them off for that. I also think we have to look at how they treat other people. You can't sit up next to me. And this is, I feel like, where Diana is coming from. You can't sit next to me when you behave like this.
Well, she's like, I'm not leaving either, though, too.
That's
she's
true,
like,
too.
we don't spend our weekend or our vacation over here like this. Right. But I must bring up denial of death again.
Yeah.
Right. Because
Ernest Becker's book.
Yeah. So one of these things that he talks about is basically our urge to, have immortality connecting to these groups and stuff. But we try to use that in a group that we don't find any pride in. Right. So when you be like, oh, you letting black women do this or doing something when we talk about violence and stuff, the black community, that's a black man. That's not really compelling when the individualism is overtaking all of that.
That
right.
part.
So you be like, maybe you have some attachment to your kids. You can allow your kids to not have a father, right? Or, you got to do that. But if it's no real sense of attachment to this group that you're trying to compel somebody to care about, right? If you told them, well, the Dallas Cowboys needs kids who have fathers, then he might be like, oh, yeah, I'm doing this for the Cowboys.
Right.
But it hasn't seemed to work when you say black folks or, our community and stuff. It don't seem to hit.
Yeah,
because we don't have that faith to that group for we know all the many reasons.
I cooked you a nice diabetic meal.
Oh, come on.
Okay, so Diana has made the meal or whatever really fast. And she said, I cooked a diabetic meal.
For Poppy.
But why Poppy say, I need some sugar bread?
You know I need some sugar bread.
Please.
Lemonade.
What is sugar bread?
I don't know, but that bread gonna turn into sugar when you eat it.
I kind of looked it up, and there's like some type of bread in these.
Go to the comments, y'all. What is sugar bread?
Yeah, I've never heard of that before.
But yeah, so he says that. And then he goes, so we got to have comedy because remember the last thing was very heavy. Black women is taking care of being a mother and a father. So now we got to have something to lighten the load. And then that's really what Poppy is doing, lightening this the load with this comical prayer for the dinner, which kind of turns into a melodic, not quite a sermon, but phrase,
it's a sermon.
And where he's saying the prayer and it turns out to be kind of like a song and the church organ comes out in the background. And of course, the implied joke is the delay in eating for the hungry people, because that's kind of like the ongoing black trope joke, which is with somebody who's going to do a long prayer when everybody's hungry at the table and ready to eat. And of course, you can't eat until the grace is said, right? And he's like, you put a leaf on the tree and a limb on the tree, for giving praise and thanking Jesus for everything.
For you put a leaf on a limb and a limb on a branch.
And then he goes into the chicken offering up a sacrifice.
And I can hear that chicken tonight, Lord.
And a praise. And then he says, I believe I can fry.
As he offer up a sacrifice of praise.
And of course, that is an R. Kelly. Who would think we were mentioning R. Kelly twice in this one? But that is an R. Kelly reference.
Grab a skill and got the found high.
To the song, I believe I can fly.
I believe I can fly.
Right. And so then when it all calms down, because Trina just is like, enough, right? And then Trina turns to Terry, is like, so how is business, Terry?
Terry, how is business?
Business is good.
And I'm like, is she sniffing? She about to try to jump from Mike to Terry. She want to know how his business is to see, can she get some coin? Is this because remember, she said she was going to marry a rich man when the time came. And that's really kind of what she did. And she's done spent Mike, into the pole house. And now she's looking for the next victim. And you got the nerve to be asking him about his business. And, I think Diana just doesn't want any interaction. I don't know that she peeped this part, but she's like, oh, you don't need to be telling her all, the details of how good business is.
We just got a new agent with a very impressive track record. And
She don't need to know all that.
When he goes to say that business is good or whatever. And then she insults Diana, Trina does, by saying, well, Diana, this food is so good. It's almost like you belong in the kitchen.
It's almost like you belong in the kitchen.
And then, Diana has to come back with something smart, basically implying that she's a harlot, a hoe, or whatever,
And you belong on the corner, need a pimp?
So that's the dynamic. But then Troy walks in. by himself.
Hey.
Troy!
Okay, so we get basically Troy comes in and then
He talk about being in love.
yeah,
That's what being in love will do for you.
but is Trina trying to get with him too?
Yeah, because Trina touches on him. It's like, ooh, Trey, you looking good or whatever.
Take a look at you. You looking all good.
See me with your eyes, not your hands.
And he say, see me with
Trina.
your eyes, not your hands. So see there, I guess that's the answer to what you do. When a woman is touching you and you don't want to be touched and you making it real clear. And so,
You
he's
bring
like,
up the old phrase from elementary school.
and so,
Then Mike talking about he about to knock the hell out of
yeah.
that.
It's about to knock the hell out of her. That's what's happening.
He did. He said, get down and sit down and get some sense and sit down.
Get some sense and sit down, woman.
So he about to start knocking Trina head against the wall too.
You probably already doing that.
Well, I was just saying.
Get some sense.
And so, but Trina has bragged though, hey, look at my ring. I'm married to Troy as he's walked
Couples retreats.
in. And Troy say, we here too.
We here. We here too.
We
So it's a couples retreat, not a marriage retreat.
So we here too. And then he turns to Mike because he's about to go to the restroom. He say, Mike, we cool, right? And then he say, yeah, you my dog. And then he goes off to the bathroom.
We cool, right? Yeah, you my dog.
So then a woman walks in, but this woman's name is Janice. She's older. And they all think that this is Troy, the woman Troy brought, which true enough, he did bring her.
How y'all doing?
Hi, how you doing?
But Janice is like, oh, I met Troy when he broke down and she picked him up or whatever. And she's glad her route went that way. So she's a truck driver.
My name is Diana.
Hey, Diana, how are you?
What's your name, baby?
I'm Janice.
Yeah, so what's the Ernest movie? Is this the one? Which one is the one with the bike?
I don't know.
Is that the one with the truck driver where Ernest meets the truck
Ernest
driver?
movies. I'm not sure. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but so she's so she's like a female counter to Poppy, and she's bringing the comedy to the situation. But Trina is very nasty, and Trina is like, Janice, you look like a truck driver, and you look like a woman who likes the women, And so it's like, where did that even come from? It was very weird. And
What you mean? That's just prime
placed to
2006 or whenever.
I guess, but I mean, you just bust out and say that. It just was weird. So Troy,
Man, everybody in here is just saying stuff they shouldn't be saying,
this
right?
Is true. This is true. So Troy returns and he's like, "Oh, I see you met my girl Janice."
I see you guys have met my girl Janice.
Oh, yeah, baby. They met me. I'm a truck driver. I get that wheel. I be like,
And then they have some more banter or whatever. And then Janice leaves, and everybody's assuming that this is the girlfriend. So they're like, what's his name? Mike says, your new girlfriend has an appetite like my ex.
Hey, Troy, your new girlfriend, man, she's got an appetite like my ex-wife, man.
Oh, shut up.
Sheila walks in after that in the middle of his conversation because he's about to get going on Sheila.
Yeah, but Mike is really talking about, oh, you better watch it because she's going to get big and fat and blah,
nasty
blah.
and whatever. Yeah.
Fat and nasty.
Before long, she's gonna be fat and nasty.
Mike, why you got
just
to
like
bring Sheila name up in this?
And so then Sheila walks in. She's dressed in red. She's all
Red
confident and
velour
everything.
and silk.
She lost weight. And she's, she's like, yeah, you lost weight, and everybody's shocked and surprised to see her and whatever. Terry's like, I mean, you were a beautiful woman, but wow, So to me, I think this is an appropriate comment on somebody who has, where you're not being, inappropriate.
Yeah.
Where your wife is there and you're like,
And he said
you're always
radiant.
beautiful. but
Radiant
you look
isn't a
radiant.
sexy
You
word.
look, yeah.
wrong. I've always thought you were a beautiful woman, but girl, you are radiant.
Yeah. So
But
then,
what's going on with her outfit?
I don't know.
I
'cause
was
it
like,
looked
that
crazy.
looked crazy to me, but I don't know. I'm not a woman.
Maybe,
She hadn't
20
glowed
years
up
makes
all
a
the
huge
way.
difference. 20 years in fashion. Maybe that was 20 years ago, church fashion. I don't know. But she, he says this compliment to her or whatever. And then Troy comes over and he's like, I like to think I had a little something to do with that.
Well, I like to think I had a little something to do with that.
And they start kissing. Mind you, nobody knew that they were together. She'd been missing in action for some months and whatnot.
A year.
This is how they announced that, they got a thing.
Oh, hell no.
Trina comes in from shopping and Mike is mad. She's just continuing to spend the money, and he's explaining to her, like, you can't be spending money like you do. And in the process, he accidentally calls her Sheila.
Look, Sheila.
And obviously that's a problem. That person is on your mind if you calling them somebody else's name.
Yeah, well, you should expect it because that's, who he was with. So, come on.
So she says, Trina's like, I'm tired of you comparing me to Sheila. You act like you love her more than you love me. And Mike comes back with, look, I'm trying to make things work, but you ain't helping me. She like, well, what you want me to do?
Cook something, clean something.
The way
he should have just said, I do.
Yeah. Yeah, well, the way she talks reminds me of Sandra off of 227 in this moment, because she's like, what you want me to do? Get a job, cook something, clean something. And he like, I want you to be a wife. So,
all right, Halle Berry.
Listen, the reference there, if you don't know it, is that David Justice, Halle Berry's husband back, 20 years or whatever ago, it said that the reason that their marriage broke down is because she wouldn't be a wife. She wasn't cooking and cleaning and da-da-da-da-da. Okay, bro, who is that high profile of a person in a busy life, an actress who, is going to be in the kitchen cooking and cleaning like you married a regular woman? Get out of here with
She
that.
wasn't that big, right, at the time? He said they met in like 92 or something.
And
when
was
did
she
they
big in 92?
break up? She was, you had Boomerang.
My thing is, even if she wasn't huge, she was a working actress, and that lifestyle is not one.
Yeah, but I'm talking about what a man would expect in those days at that size. You know what I'm saying? You seen what happened with Will Smith.
You ain't even home like
and
that.
Jada
he
Pinkett.
played baseball, so he's traveling and whatever else too.
Yeah.
So whatever. I was just like, shut up. So that's what we're talking about, David Justice and Halle Berry. So he says, I want you to be a wife. Mike is like, you're not being a wife to me, because really a wife is being defined by his ex Sheila, right? Everything that the new woman is doing, he's comparing to Sheila, and Trina isn't measuring up except in the physical beauty category. But that's getting ruined because she's spending all his money. And he's like, Sheila would have never spent money like that. So he goes on to give more information about his money crunch. And he says, you breaking me down. And then he gives this analogy like, look, the bank is closed. The lobby is closed. You can't be spending money like that. So what she says to him, though, is to let him know what this deal really is. She entices him with the lingerie, and he gets all frisky a little bit. And he's like, you can keep the lingerie. And she like, oh, when the bank is closed, so does everything else.
No, baby. See, when the bank closed, so did everything else.
So that means the bank is closed, them legs is closed.
All right, Spike Lee.
Chirac
and,
Yes. Lysistrata, is what that movie is based on. So Trina leaves the room or whatever, and then Sheila enters and whatever. And she's singing, Kanye West Gold Digger. I ain't saying she's a gold digger. The old Kanye West, the one we actually liked a little bit.
Yeah, she give me money.
So then she tells him, like, look, you got what you wanted. And you getting exactly what you deserve.
And exactly what you deserve, though.
And she points out, like, do you realize that it was me that was keeping that business moving? Like, when you would come in and be tired, I'd be up late looking at the book.
Ever stop to think, though, that maybe it was me that kept that business moving the way it did?
And whatever, but you never thought about it. So, like,
all right, Bernadine and
from
John.
Waiting to Exhale. Yeah, you never thought about her contribution to the business, and this happens a lot, right? But she was being the background to his foreground, right? That's exactly what Trina was doing, helping this business be successful. And of course, that's exactly what Sheila was doing. But Trina is not doing that. Trina's not involved. Yeah. And so that fell by the wayside. And we see that his business has been cut by 50% because he doesn't have his MVP. He don't have his clutch player. Who was Sheila. So he's like, oh, you did that for me? She said, I did that for us. And see, I do think that when you start to think about us versus me, you know what I'm saying? You, that's you. If you're thinking with that team spirit in your relationship, then it just helps to make the decisions easier.
Yeah.
You're not doing it for the other person because their success is your success.
Yeah.
But people,
so,
I don't know.
You know why I said Bernadette?
Why?
Instead of Bernadine. So, Cheryl Pepsi No, Trina, the one who plays Trina. She looks like Bernadette.
Bernadette Stannis, I
yeah,
think. Oh,
from
okay, yeah.
Good Times, who
from
played
Good
Thelma.
Times, Thelma.
Look like her in her later in life, or at an older age.
So that's the dynamic that's going on there. So we see a little bit of reckoning, and he was like, but she was saying like, I made you look good. I kept that business afloat. He was like, well, you were my wife. She said, no, I was your problem. Remember? Because that's what he told her just earlier. You my problem. And then he goes on to try to smooch her, and he's like, oh, but you look good. And she like, I know.
You looking good, girl. You looking good.
I know I am.
For those of you who don't know, you should visit axiom.app. And you'll be able to look at all of the recent videos across all of our channels. And I'm putting that on the screen right now just so y'all can see it and see what it looks like. Because there are a ton of videos that are over there. And also, I think that there are at least about 100 exclusive videos that are available for our Patreon members and our YouTube members. So, if you're interested in more of our content, as I've seen many of you binge watching, be sure to check those things out. And I'm just thinking, I'm not sitting in a room with Mike with all the water under the bridge. When I see him, I'm leaving. Like, if I come in and he's there, I'm not engaging him at all. Like, and you got Troy and all that. Like, why you even want to talk to this fool? I know for the sake of the play, you have to, the interaction is giving us something. But in real life, bruh, no, absolutely not. So then Diana and Terry walk in the door and, they're getting all frisky, thinking that they're alone, not paying attention. And then Diana and Sheila get a chance to talk alone. And then they talk about how Sheila lost the weight. And then Sheila basically runs down this story of how she went to church before their last court date and that she got saved. And God basically told her to let go and trust him. And that's what she did. And that's why she didn't try to get all of
and never
Mike's
talk to
money.
her friends.
Yeah, she didn't tell her friend or anything like that. And then she said the day after the court date, Troy called and asked for her, to work for him. And then he just was kind and patient with her. He showed her how to do the work. And then he also showed her how to work out. And, he was just treating her much better. And so it turns out, because remember from before, Troy couldn't find the right woman. He was having bad luck with women. And, here is this woman who he's known most of his life, I guess, that turned out to be, quote unquote, the one. So they seem to be a good fit. They're working out together. She's losing weight and everybody's happy. And I was just thinking like, oh, Sheriff Troy, from the movie, I always would call him Sheriff Troy. And here he's not a sheriff, but
Yeah, so I think the situation in the movie was a little better because she had nothing else, and that's why she ended up working for him because she stayed there, right? That's different than this, hey, I need you for a job.
And I like Troy not being friends with the rest of them.
Yeah.
I like him being separate.
So in the first video, I'm sorry, I just can't say your name, but I'm going to call you Micaiah, said, spoiler alert, in the play, Sheila only lost weight because of a dare. And I was like, oh, but it don't hit that hard. I don't think it's that serious.
Well, unless maybe they're going to reveal that it was a dare later, but at this point, it doesn't seem to be.
No, she said that.
Oh, okay. I must have missed that then.
Yeah, she said something about whatever, and he dared me to come. Basically to the gym.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't take that as a quote unquote dare. And you don't only, so if you lose weight, you don't only lose weight because of a dare. You can't lose weight because of a dare only.
Yeah.
Like that, the dare doesn't keep you going and showing up every day.
For a year.
The dare doesn't have your negative self-talk be talked down on a daily basis.
Yeah.
I
thought it was going to be more like, I dare you to lose. I don't know. Something just more integral to
I remember seeing that
the plot. Yeah, but so this was very fast.
I was thinking, why would you put a spoiler alert
I know
on there when I told you I ain't seen it? But I'm not mad at you. I'm just saying.
That was my reply to it. It was just like, spoiler alert, bam. Like, dang, you done just told me. Like, we have to read the comment.
Yeah, like, okay, thanks.
Yeah,
but no,
so it was very fast divorce and a 3-month marriage.
Yeah. So,
but I think it was faster in the movie.
Listen, and let me just go back to the idea of Troy. I think I have the tendency to romanticize him, because Sheriff Troy is the reason why I loved the movie so much. He was the, for people who love romance movies and all of that and romance stories.
Women
he
like
was
how they got
the knight in shining. Well, Lamont Rucker is fine. But what I'm going to say is he was the knight in shining armor. It wasn't even how he looked. It was what he did. He came in, he regulated, he helped. He was just supportive. He was her Boaz. And I wonder why, in something that, this is such a religious thing, like why that parallel wasn't made, right? He saw that she needed saving, if you will, and he was there and did and stood up in every way that stereotypically a man should stand up. So yeah, I still like the character.
But Troy said any woman gonna be with me gonna be under 150. I don't know how much she weighs. But
Troy said, now look, we can take this to the next level if you willing to. It's interesting because there's a person who I'm aware of. We don't really know. It's kind of like we have one degree of separation, but I'm aware of her story. And so she had been dating guys. This was some time ago, but she had been dating guys. And she had a friend who was, either a best friend or a close friend or something like that. And she was heavy and she had been trying to lose weight and stuff. And, her relationships weren't working out. And this guy who was her friend said, look, if you lose some weight, then I'll marry you.
Yeah.
And I was like, and so this was supposed to be this great romantic story. She lost a lot of weight. She did lose weight, and they got married and they have a family and everything like that. But when and then she gained weight, right? After she had, kids and stuff, it's not unnatural to gain some weight. And so she gained back. Like, to me, when I look at her now, she's the same size she was when he said, you got to lose weight or I'll marry you.
Nah, that's funny.
But wait, this is the kicker.
Oh.
Dude was not fit.
Oh.
Himself. I was like, bro, so I don't know.
Overweight.
He was overweight.
Yeah.
He was bigger than dad bod. You know what I'm saying?
He was obese. What?
I don't know why that word makes me laugh. Even though that's technically my category at this point, y'all. I'm just trying hard to just be like overweight. I don't want to be obese anymore. But, I don't know. You said he was obese.
Because, it's like, do you say he was big or he was really big? He was obese. He wasn't a spring chicken. I don't know another word.
Yeah, but I was just like, you got a whole lot of nerve making demands on her physical appearance. So that's what happened when you put together.
When you put marriage above whatever the thing should be, right? She probably just wanted to be married so bad.
And I mean, they seem like they have a good relation. And see, look, I think that romance friend thing works really well in a lot of ways because this is probably why they're still happy. And then hopefully he matured enough.
Like that one dude, I don't know if we talked about him on here, of the one who was talking about that it tells you more about the person when you're fat, right? To him. Did we talk about that on here?
No, I don't think so. Remind me.
I don't know. It's something in your feed somewhere where this guy was talking about if they're fat or some YouTube video or something, right? Then that tells him more about the person.
Yeah. If the girl is fat, then it means she's nasty and all these things.
Yeah.
And it tells you that she doesn't care about her health. She doesn't care about anything. And what does her house look like? And
it's kind of that same thing though, right? If you lose weight, then that shows me some sort of drive or determination, that whatever, right? When it could possibly be anything else. But when you attach it to something like that, then it really has a different meaning.
Yeah. Okay. So I can see that. So the possibility exists that he said, I want you to lose weight to see if she had drive.
Right. Or it could be like, if you grow a bountiful garden,
or
then,
something stupid. Something stupid like, how bad do you want me? And if she does what I suggest, like.
No, I'm talking about something that'd be like, well, I don't know much about you, but if you show me this, then, that's a good starting
I just think
point.
you already know a lot. You already knew a lot because you all were good friends and whatever. And you sat and watched her go through these heartbreaks and stuff. But anyway, but at the end they seem, happy enough. But I was just thinking like a lot of nerve.
Save the best for last.
Oh, the song. Okay, the Vanessa Williams song. You wouldn't save the best for last. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, see?
It's same type of thing, right? You sit and you watch the heartbreak and you're right there and she's friend zoning you this whole time and he's the one. And,
Was it really friend zoned? He was friend zoning her.
Well, he was friend zoning her. Yes, I take that back. She always had her eye, and always it's kind of the movie Some Kind of Wonderful. Listen, if you know, you know. If you're an '80s, I guess this would be Brat Pack.
Is that where the song come from?
Nah, but it's the same kind of scenario where she loves this guy and he's like her best friend, but he's enthralled with this girl who's the it girl, and I'm sure I don't know. She's All That maybe is another movie that's a little bit newer like that. But this idea that this girl is in love with her friend and he doesn't see it, right, until it's too late. But you know what? Love and Basketball, same kind of thing, right? Except they actually had a little relationship at some point in the movie.
No, so I think there's a song, Some Kind of Wonderful, that's way earlier than that.
Oh, than the movie? Yeah. I did. Oh, it was the song. Okay, I was thinking about Saved the Best for Last. Like, no, those are not related. Okay, I got you. But anyway, so, this is a common, I think it's a common situation because look, if people are of the gender that they're interested in and you're friends, the capacity to have it be more is there.
But really it's all that men have, right? Because
your physical appearance.
Yeah, because the thing is kind of what I'm saying. Because like with a woman, she'll be like, well, once you start making this amount, then, you know, we can get married. You know what I'm saying? It's all a man can do is be like, you change the way you look.
Oh my God. What if it's when you finish law school, when you know?
Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying, right? So even at those young ages, once you graduate, we could get married.
So there is something. What I was thinking is, because I just saw a story on social media where a man was talking about having been married 20 years to the love of his life. And she was going to law school and he was going to medical school, and they met and got married while each of them was in these schools. And she put off her law career to get him through, I think he said, anesthesiology residency. And then once he finished that, she went on with her law career, and they're still together and they're so happy. And they look like a wonderful Black couple. I was like, okay, y'all, I see you. So each of them had their careers. That ain't the same thing, though. Why?
Because we're talking about this kind of ultimatum.
Oh,
right?
Do this and then, okay, but yeah. But anyway, so Troy was very patient with her. So we get the story, and then we find out at this point that they are married.
Sheila, no. Are you married? Oh my God.
Right. So they don't say that they're married earlier or anything like that. But here in this situation where Troy has known Mike his whole life, basically, how does that work when you marry somebody who you're friends with, ex-wife? Y'all go to the comments. Do y'all know any situations like this? Because that's a little bit out there for me. But, anyway, how is it for the man? Or is it just like, hey, you didn't want her, I picked her up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, for the person who made that comment about whatever's in the Bible and stuff, about adultery, then, they'll be like, yeah, this should happen because they like brothers.
Oh, yeah. There was. Okay, so there was a comment where somebody made a reference to, well, divorce is allowed in the Bible. Okay, so when we talked about that in part 1, I was specifically referencing what Heit said at the time, which is kind of this idea that people freely are getting divorced in the church. And that is, and so it was a general comment. Yes, believe it or not. Go ahead.
There's somebody called named The Blood Still Works, and they said the Bible actually does say you can remarry if your spouse cheats, and Mike blatantly cheated and left Sheila.
Go ahead and read my response while you're at it.
Okay.
If you see it.
How long is this? Okay, it's not that long. Yes. However, here I was addressing his comment about generally getting divorced willy-nilly, like he was talking about in his statement. Not about the particular situation in the film. When I made the statement, I was thinking about the verse from Malachi where it says God hates divorce. I was also aware that there are only 2 reasons given as acceptable for divorce in the Bible. So in summary, I was disputing that divorce is a generally accepted occurrence in biblical principle as opposed to how prevalent and acceptable it seems in today's church.
Yes, that sums it up because I thought about that before I typed it. And I mean, I guess I could have gone into that detail. I thought it was somewhat obvious, but, I do appreciate, clarification and correction. And for those of you who wanted to know, the two cases which is acceptable, are adultery. And then also if you were abandoned by a non-believer.
Right. And to think about pulling quotes out to make some sort of rules, it just doesn't work with the Bible. And that's part of it when I talked about how what the preacher says or what the culture of your church is what the religion is and what it says to do and be and how. That's really kind of how it, was, especially when the vows is basically for life.
Yep. So we're just getting more and more about what this setup and scenario is. What have Troy and Sheila been doing since they've been, not there? Oh, and the kids, they love Troy too. So Troy picked up a woman who has 2 kids, which is very different than in the film. So he's taking care of the kids too, in a sense. I mean,
I'm
she
guessing
works,
he don't
but
have kids.
he doesn't have kids or anything. So, I just think that any man who is willing to take on and care for another man's children like his own, like that's straight out the MVP. And let me give this caveat. Hopefully, if he does have children, he is also caring for them too.
I don't know. I think that's one of those cookie situations. If you go on and you marry this woman, like that's just what you do. Like, you don't get a cookie for that. But the idea of elevating yourself to that position is kind of, you probably do deserve the cookies.
Yeah, you do. You deserve. You
ain't got no kids. She got kids, and you just hopping up in there.
Because that's
like that.
a huge responsibility if you don't have children, and then you take on someone who has children. That's a big jump. That's a big thing. It's a huge responsibility, and financially, it's a huge responsibility just in what your day-to-day looks like. You're not starting from quote unquote scratch. You have almost like a ready-made family at that point. And a lot of people don't want that. And it's, I think, an amazing guy who would come into a situation and be willing to do that. And, so, hey, Troy is the MVP for that reason too in here, because of course in the movie, Troy doesn't have children. Although this, his marriage to Sheila in the movie is his second marriage. So they're very equal in the movie. It's both of their second marriages. Neither of them have children,
Hey, Troy.
Hey.
In the next scene, we see that Troy walks in the cabin, and he walks in on Trina working out. And Trina's like, "We're finally alone."
We are finally alone.
And she starts touching on him, and Troy is trying to get out of her grasp again.
Diana and your woman are at the store.
Let me help you.
And Trina is basically trying to steal Sheila's husband again, her man. And she's like, "Oh, well, your woman is on, and your woman is gone right now," and saying where she is. And he's like, "Oh, hold up,
She's not my woman. She's my wife."
"That ain't my woman. She's my wife."
That's the same thing.
No, it's not.
And Trina's like, "That's the same thing." He's like, "Oh, no, it's not."
A man's woman is just another notch in his belt.
A man's woman. But of course, this is again the writer putting his feelings out there. So a man's woman is a notch on his belt, while a man's wife is his soulmate, a lifelong commitment.
A man's wife is his soulmate, a lifelong commitment.
And, all of that. So, hey, message.
Yeah. He went way too far with this character, Trina. Because, dang, she trying to smash everybody.
I know, but again, it's just like she's just looking for her next meal ticket, right? That and there are people who I think are this way. But yeah. So she goes on to ask him, "Is there anything I can get you?" And he's like, into trouble. And
you could get me into trouble. You could get me into hell.
Into hell.
And you could get me a trip to the clinic.
You give me a trip to the clinic. And so she goes on to ask him, like, "Well, what do you see in Sheila?"
Honestly, Troy, what do you see in Sheila?
And then Sheila and Diane walk in, but I want to talk about her saying, "What do you see in Sheila?" Because I think to people who only are worried about the aesthetic, they can't imagine what it is that somebody who's not as pretty as they are, by, let's say, societal standards or whatever, or not as thin or not as nice of a body or whatever, what they could possibly bring to the table that could be enticing to, a partner. And I just think, unfortunately, it's the shallowness.
Tall and 6 figures things, right?
Right.
Yeah,
for men,
what could
tall,
you see in
6 figures.
that guy?
Yeah.
Wait,
what could you see in him? He doesn't make 6
only
figures.
5'5"
He's 5'5" or 5'2" or whatever, he is. And there's obviously a lot more that people bring to the table other than their physical beauty or their wallet. And unfortunately, the people in this film, Mike and Trina, their focus is the physical or the wallet, right? So then when Sheila walks in, she doesn't like what she sees because Trina is all over her man. And Sheila and, so when Sheila and Diana walk in, next thing you know, Sheila and Trina are alone because, everybody skedaddles when they see what's going on. And Trina's like, oh, it was completely innocent what you just saw, and whatever. And
That thing with me and Troy was completely innocent. It wasn't anything like what it looked like, okay?
this is how these whores act,
Dang.
Because the funny thing is you're bold in one way, but then you try to run interference to her. And so then we see the reckoning, and she continues to try to talk. Me and Mike are both proud of you for losing all of that weight. Sometimes a hard breakup will do that to you. And Sheila's like, look, I lost weight from me. Don't you think you had anything to do with it? But then Sheila also runs her down and she's like, look, I was your best friend. I was your only friend.
I was your best friend. I was your only friend.
I paid your rent. Your boyfriend was beating you. I helped you out. I covered up illegal stuff that you did. I covered for you and you betrayed me. And again, I'm sure that there were signs that Trina was a foul person. And the question is, did Sheila ignore those signs? Did she think, oh, but she won't do it to me? And this is, I think, part of the lesson in how people, it's not, a lot of times with people who are parasites like this, it's not personal.
So what was her ex name? Freddie?
I don't know.
That covered for you when you and Teddy were into all of that illegal stuff that you thought nobody knew about.
Got it, something like that. Freddie. We're going to just call him Freddie. I forgot that fact. But so Trina was helping Freddie with the business and all that stuff, but now she don't want to do that stuff anymore. Like what made the character change?
Illegal business.
Especially, but she was involved in the business. But with Mike, she's not
work anymore.
But from Diana in the first part, she's just talking about how she's always been a certain way and stuff. It's like things that's not adding up with this character, right? And now all of a sudden she's just searching for. With every guy.
Well, maybe it wasn't real work, right? Maybe it was like he's, moving weight or something.
It don't matter. Yeah. She was doing
involving
whatever.
herself with.
Yeah. And then we see this. Mike and Terry is off somewhere so-called discussing business. And she just over here doing stretches.
Yeah.
So she's... And then he has to tell her, business is down, down 53%. And all that, right?
Yeah.
That I ain't making what I used to make, a year ago. Things have changed. She don't know anything.
Yeah,
and maybe
she's not involved in the business.
Yeah, maybe that could be the personality of Mike, but I don't know. But just like how Sheila was doing whatever.
Yeah,
right?
he didn't block her out of the business. Sheila out of the business. So yeah. So but Sheila finally is like, look, I spent a lot of time mad at you, but I couldn't move on with my life without forgiving you. So I forgive you.
That as long as I was hating you, I'd never be able to move on with my life.
So she's saying, hey, this is what it takes. And I think that is like, I don't know how I feel about that. Like,
you can't forgive. All right. So I forgive somebody, but you still right here doing this to her husband. Why did you forgive? You shouldn't have. You hold off your forgiveness until it's clear that it's warranted.
Yeah. You could just let it go. You cannot hold on to the bitterness. And maybe that's what some people feel forgiveness is, but like you're forgiving, you're interacting with her again. Like sometimes when you learn your lesson, you just got to let people be. But, that's
a big part of the religion. And now y'all know what I mean when I say the religion too. Right? A big part is forgive. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
So Terry and Diana, everybody comes back in and they're all sitting around. And Terry and Diana ask, why they didn't get invited to the wedding and stuff like that between Troy and Sheila. So then they go into the whole, why did I get married? Them going around and telling why they got married, a reminder of the couple thing, So now this is kind of paralleling what we saw in the films, right? And so they're going to go and, explain why did they get married? And we're going to hear probably some soliloquies from these different actors.
I don't want to tell our annual why I got married stories.
Good. No, let's play some dominoes or some spades or something.
They get into talking about the whole thing about why they got married, right? And Terry tells his story. He got married because she was different. Diana made him wait for the cookies, and this made him pay attention. And they come up with this idea that, you know, men figure that if the woman is setting it out for them easily, then they're setting it out for everybody else. And so, you know, you have a little bit of slut shaming in there.
Right.
Yeah, because he figures she's setting it out there for him. She's setting it out there for everybody else.
But he got married because he wasn't getting younger.
Yeah.
We ain't getting no younger. We might as well do it.
And then he said something that didn't make any sense, though. He said, and you know, I figured that's not the only reason. So I figured if you loved and respected yourself so much, then you would love and respect me too. And I'm like, there are people who love themselves a whole bunch and respect themselves a lot. That's all they care about.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That is faulty
But I'm
logic.
stuck on the whole. If they put it out for everybody else, then they doing it for everybody else. If they do it, put it out there easily for you. But I'm like, nah, I just think I'm special and desirable. And most people probably think that if something like that happens to them, right? It ain't like, okay, you go on a job interview and they be like, yeah, we need you right now. You're gonna be like, man, they doing this for everybody. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
You just might
I
be
guess
like,
it just depends
"It's
on
something
how
about
people
me."
perceive certain actions, right?
Yeah.
So, Poppy, you know, tells his turn because he's always giving. Well, no, Diana, she says she married Terry because his eyes never lie. Okay. Poppy goes on to say that he married Terry's mama for the benefits. Of course, he's got to bring the comic relief to break up some of this sentimental stuff. And then Troy says he married Sheila because she is because he's always loved her, no matter who he was with.
No matter who I was with or how long I was with him, I couldn't stop thinking about you.
Yeah.
And how somebody hurt her and you didn't allow it to harden your heart and you saved the spot just for me, blah, blah, blah. And he just loves everything about her. Sheila says she married Troy because after seeing the worst side of what a man could be, Mike.
You are everything that he wasn't.
You were everything he wasn't, and my heart and soul belong you. Like they pouring it, laying it on thick with each other.
You're faithful. Troy, my heart and my soul belong to you.
And this is all in front of Mike and Trina. So then when Trina says, they dogging you like you ain't even here, Mike.
I love you.
I mean, they are sitting here dogging you like you ain't here.
And then when it's Mike's turns, he's like, I'll pass. You don't even want to say why he got married.
Hell, I pass.
And when it's Trina's turn, she's like, I don't care to share.
I don't care to share. Thank you.
So then Terry tells the story of his proposal and whatever. And then Mike tells his proposal story where he proposed in, I guess, the parking lot of McDonald's. And that's supposed to be cheap and cheesy. Although I feel like proposing in the parking lot of McDonald's, I mean, okay.
Yeah.
There are people who have proposed in these ways that are not super grand. I think we're all caught up in just all of these, well, you know, super thought out production level events of things like that. And I just don't think it's necessary.
Yeah, like the mention of when, you know, I put the ring on her finger and then she went to brush her teeth
Terry,
and then she saw the bling, right?
Yeah.
And then Poppy mentioned Diary of a Mad Black Woman.
Where Shamar Moore did that.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, so everybody leaves, you know, they all go to their respective rooms for the night. And then Troy and Sheila are talking alone. And he asks her if she's uncomfortable with Mike being there, if we're sleeping under the same roof or whatever. I'm like, okay, why wasn't this a discussion before y'all showed up to the couples
I know,
retreat?
it's time to leave.
Like what? And so then he's like, I don't want you to think I'm being insecure. I want to make up for all the pain that he caused you. And of course, this leads into a song. And you know, some of the theme of the song is kind of like in the world of disappointments, one thing is true, that God has blessed us. And you know, this theme is just that I'm glad we found each other. And at one point he talks about like we were sleeping under the same stars. And this reminds me of the song Somewhere Out There, which was from, I think it's an American Tale. It was a cartoon, you know, Fievel the Little Mouse or whatever, from way back in it might have been in the 80s or very early 90s, one or the other. And it's like somewhere out there beneath the pale moonlight of the lyrics or whatever, like you're looking at the same moon from these different places and you don't know where the other person is. But the weird thing about this is that y'all were friends. You knew each other. You were in the same sphere. It's not like you're out in the world wishing for the same things like the song implies. And then there's other lyric that didn't make any sense to me. But because it's like, I'm ready to say I do in the song. And I'm like, but you're already married. So like, I don't know.
Yeah, so why did I get married though, right? I guess we're supposed to be transported.
Yeah,
But
I guess we're supposed to think, I
what
don't know.
stood out to me in the music was he said, lady baby.
And he's begging. I'm begging you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, the feels from this were just a little bit weird.
But he said lady baby. And so, I was I say back in the day, I was heavy on music. And so, you know how every crew of rappers or whatever, or rap labels supposed to have like an R&B act, right? We had this one guy who was a singer, and he would always say Lady Baby. And then we had this other song. It was more like a crunk type club song. Lady Baby. Like he said, Lady
I know.
Baby.
Lady Baby. Yeah.
So then we had this one song. It's supposed to be like a more crunk, club type song. And he started off, he was like, y'all thought I was going Lady Baby. Nah.
Evo, Troy went Lady Baby.
Lady Baby. Oh, but why does Troy always put on the preacher voice or the talk piece voice tone? And if you don't know, so like I'm thinking more like white preachers where I put my voice like this and then that means it's more sincere. Or I'm singing a song, yeah girl I love you, and then I start talking, so from the first time that we met, I said
giving you a little bit of that Diana Ross, ain't no mountain high enough.
But like
voice.
when men do it, the talk piece voices, it's just always got to be higher tone and stuff. But that's what Troy does every time he's, spewing out his emotions.
Spewing out his emotions. But yeah, that's it. So, it leads into this song.
That's you for me.
The next scene, Mike and Trina are there, and Troy tells her to go to the car so he can talk to Sheila, supposedly about the kids.
Look, why don't you wait for him in the car? I'll be there in a minute.
And so Sheila comes in, and, Mike passes her some money, talking about give this to the kids and da-da-da.
Here you go. Give this to my boys. This is for my babies.
She turns it down. And, at some point in this back and forth, she's like, glad I found out that what one man won't do, another one will.
Glad I found out that what one man won't do, another one will.
And Mike's like, you only with Troy to make me jealous and whatever. You don't get over somebody that easily.
You ain't doing nothing but trying to make me jealous, girl.
And then he confesses, I'm not over you. I love you. I miss you. And I need you.
With her right now. But I love you and I miss you, Sheila. I need you.
And it's like he's trying to get her back, which is obviously not a surprise because, for him, it was just about her physical appearance. But she found something better and is not interested in his proposition.
Over you.
Oh, God, Mike, please.
And think about like how he is to Trina, even though Trina, was very trifling. Like, think this is your wife now. You made your choice and you told her to go to the car. And, so you could try to make one last ditch effort to get back with Sheila. So then, of course, Sheila's like, well, I love you too, like basically with the love of the Lord, not like, she loves him in this romantic way because she's told him like multiple times, like, we're done, we're over. And he's still trying to get her to go down memory lane, And there's this line that Sheila at the banquet says in the first movie where she's like, oh, you did think I was your first, because he says I was your first, you did think that, didn't you? And this line is one that apparently made it from the script, from the script of the play, to the film itself, because that was kind of a repeat line that I had heard before. But he just wants her to think of all of their firsts and whatever. And then she's like, yeah, all these good firsts, but you also broke my heart. And, he's just trying to make her reminisce so that he can get back in there.
Yeah.
But she says, thanks for the trip back to me, meaning, for finding herself again because she had lost herself in this marriage. And, she's like, no regrets, no grudges, but we are over.
This is over. We, Mike, are over.
And then Troy walks in and he's like, over. And then, Mike realizes it's done.
Over.
So he leaves and whatever. And then Poppy sits down to talk to the two couples that are left, talk to Troy and Sheila and Diana and Terry. And basically the message is God is the answer no matter what you're going through. You can lose everything you got, but if you still got God, that's all you need. And then it leads to this song. And to me, the song at the end, which is about the Lord, he don't need nobody's help. He can save and do everything. Then it's like, this is the altar call song. This is the song that at the end of the church sermon, right, you get the altar call. And, anybody who wants to come up and be saved can be saved at this point in time.
I don't know
this
what
is
church
how
you went to, but
what?
That ain't the end of the sermon.
Well, kind of
it's the end of the first one.
Oh, well. Go to the comments, y'all. How is it at your churches you've been to? Typically, it happens kind of toward the end, and then, but at the churches I've been to. But yeah, share your experiences. But yeah, so that's basically how it ends. And then they, showcase the cast and they come out. And then after that, in the recording of the play, Tyler Perry comes out and he says a few words, but we're not going to cover that here because we're sticking to the actual story of what's going on in the play. So now that we've seen it, what are we thinking?
Oh, I guess it's pretty much in line with the movie.
Was the movie or the play better to you?
It's always going to be a movie to me.
Because you don't like the music so much.
Yeah, but the play is not edited and stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's live and the acting is right? Overacting,
yeah.
Of course, because you kind of show stuff on stage and stuff, right? So it's just different, and I prefer movies because movies are nice, clean, and very manicured, right?
Right.
The good ones.
Right. I definitely prefer the film. And between the two films, Why Did I Get Married and Why Did I Get Married 2, I obviously prefer the first one. And it's just, for me, it's all about the story of Troy and Sheila. That is just it for me. Still is it for me. This doesn't really change it. And yeah. So,
yeah.
I mean, it was all right. I'm glad I saw this. I think it takes away from the story, even though it might have been more realistic for her, for her and Mike to have been, been together a long time, had 2 kids together and all of that. I didn't like that dynamic as much. I didn't like Troy being their friend for life, but I did agree with not having all the extra couples. We don't have Angela and Marcus and, yeah.
So I guess it's a good addition if this is all that right? If you saw this back then and then you went and watched the movie, you'd be like, ooh, now they done added these other characters. Maybe, right? So what's that show I was watching that has the 4 dudes? With
I don't know. It's an old show with Kadeem Hardison.
Let me see.
DeAndre Whitfield.
Between Brothers.
I think that's
what it is. Right? So it kind of, when I was watching, I was like, so that none of them have kids, right? And then all these shows like that, you don't have kids. And it's kind of what happened when they turned Why Did I Get Married into a movie. Now it's like, oh, they don't have kids. We have to create this, I don't know, sort of a clean slate.
Right.
In a sense. And why can't people just have kids? Right, so the play was
because there's more to consider and it's more complicated. Exactly. I think is why they choose not to do that, right?
Yeah, and then probably having to hire people, and then we seen the last Tyler Perry movie or whatever we did where the children changed.
Oh yeah. Medea's Destination Wedding.
Yeah, so you get into
somebody
those issues.
said that Tiffany, what is her name?
Dang.
The singer, the younger singer, Tiffany, I can't think of her name. But anyway, she was the one who played the daughter in that Destination Wedding, that, Terry's daughter originally. Medea's nephew, Terry, had a daughter.
Tiffany.
No, why did I say
character.
Terry? Not Terry. The character that Tyler Perry plays in the Medea films. I done forgot his name. But
Joe
Joe is the brother, and Joe's son, who Tyler Perry himself plays, his daughter, Brian, in those original movies. And so Tiffany, I can't think of her name, but she was the original
Tiffany
one.
is the character, right?
Oh, no.
So they used the other girl's name and then kept it?
No, what I'm saying is they changed the girls, I thought.
Yeah, but I'm saying the character
actresses.
name is Tiffany.
Well, I think the original actress's name was Tiffany.
That's what I'm saying. So they took her name and then kicked her out of it.
You got to keep the character name the same. Daughter can't be Tiffany in this and Ebony in the later films.
Oh, man.
So, yeah.
Thanks. So what other movie was
Tiffany Evans. That's what it is. Tiffany Evans. Because for whatever reason, she's always in my feed. Tiffany Evans is. But is that right, y'all? She
was in Diary of a Mad Black Woman.
Yeah, okay. So Tiffany Evans. Yeah, that's who they said was the daughter of his daughter.
Snatched your name up from you.
Yep. So my final thoughts about it, but I think I like not in the I like that the film doesn't have as overt of the messages, all the stuff like you're a hoe if you do this and like it just has those things represented in characters, and it doesn't actually state these things that are supposed to be quote unquote life rules, because I don't necessarily agree with all of the stuff
but that's
being
what
said.
People, when they do their art, that's what they're doing, no matter what.
That's true.
Even though you could be like, I can interpret it any way I want, but sometimes the art is just interpreted as the art is.
Yeah.
And, I watch lots of things and I'm just like, I disagree with that, but it's a good movie,
Yeah. So that's kind of how I feel about this. And so the play just really beats you over the head with it.
Yeah.
Versus the other entertainment value from the film. Beyond that, you're looking at the set, you're looking at, the beautiful places that they are. Hey, the Colorado mountains are beautiful in the first one. And then what are they in the Bahamas in the second movie? So obviously the scenery is beautiful. You got these different actors that are coming in and out of the films. You had, like in the second film, Lou Gossett, and then all of the famous people who starred in the films. So, but I'm glad I watched it. We want to do other plays. Comment which play we should do next, because at this point, I do think that we have ignored the plays and we should, talk about them.
So they were like, hey, a lot of the plays are on BET, whatever, BET Plus, and we just
are
don't
they
have
really
that
there?
too.
Everybody doesn't
there?
have it. I don't really know.
Yeah, but it's kind of about us.
They
not
may be
everybody,
around.
right? 'Cause
yeah,
we have to have
we gotta
to it.
have access to watch it, and we don't subscribe to BET Plus because y'all already know. If you subscribe to every streaming service out there, you're gonna be paying more than you used to pay for old school cable TV back in the day. I think back in the day, my cable TV bill might have been a couple $100.
Dang.
It was a lot. It was the internet was all wrapped up in it. You know how they had you hooked in.
Yeah.
But this was the early 2000s. But anyhow, thank you so much for joining us for this. We appreciate it as always. And, tell us in the comments, what you think, what you want us to cover next in the Tyler Perry sphere and beyond.
If you made it this far, type timeshare in the comments so we'll know you're one of the real ones who stick around to the end.
And be sure to check out one of the videos that's on the screen right now. And also be sure to go to axiom.app. This is where you'll find all of the recent videos that we've done on all of our channels in one place with links back to watch them on YouTube here. Or if you are a member, and we hope you are, on YouTube or Patreon, you can find links to all of your exclusive content there as well.